This is Rudy Giuliani coming to you with another edition of Rudy's Common Sense. And today, we're going to have a very, very interesting conversation with two people who really know the origin of this CCP virus. I know everybody else calls it COVID-19. I call it the CCP virus because I believe this was given to the world by the Chinese Communist Party. I think there's no question about that. What we're going to ask about now, there are some questions about the fact that they knew about it, the fact that they spread it deliberately, the fact that they kept information from the rest of the world that would have helped us save lives, undisputed. The only thing that is in dispute is whether our weak president and administration can do anything about it. Or should I say, a president who has been paid a lot of money by China. Is he capable of really acting in our interests? But more about that later. Let's get to the two guests that we have, both of whom understood this a long time before our corrupt media acknowledged it. So let me introduce Dr. Maria Ryan, who's my co-host on
Uncovering
the Truth every Sunday, in which we examine questions like this. Dr. Ryan was the head of Cottage Hospital. She was the CEO of Cottage Hospital for some time. She reformed Cottage Hospital. And in the course of those duties, Dr. Ryan, who is a nurse practitioner and a PhD in hospital administration, had to prepare our hospital to get ready for this, and therefore anticipated a lot of what we later found out. And I know from personal experience working with her that she was predicting all of these things, seems to me, even before the beginning of 2020. I think you all know Dr. Li Minyan, who is a hero of the Chinese people, a hero of the world, really, yes. Because she was working in Hong Kong, and she was working for another laboratory in Hong Kong that does similar kinds of research. And when this happened, within a day or so of its happening, she was assigned to do an analysis of it by her superior. And she did. She did an analysis of it, and she came to some very, very quick, but very, very sustainable conclusions that then got her into a lot of trouble in the United States, and now she's been proven right. So these two ladies have a perfect right to say, I told you so. They haven't done it yet, but I'm going to try to get them to do it. So let me start with Dr. Ryan and let her do a lot of the questioning, because she understands this far better than I do. I probably understand it like you do, so maybe I can help you kind of translate it. Dr. Ryan, how did you first become aware of what later became the pandemic, and what did you do about it? I mean, can you remember when you first became aware of it, and then the first steps that you took to deal with it?
I do. I remember the reports coming out of China in December of 2019, and they were very suspicious from the beginning. There was some leaked videos that looked like the military was helping bring dead bodies out of apartment buildings. There was chatter that there was a big cover-up going on with some kind of virus, and that was in December of 2019. By the end of December, I was talking to Italian doctors because now the virus that we learned about earlier in December in Wuhan was now in northern Italy, and it was decimating the elderly population there. So I was already in contact with physicians on the clinical picture. At that time, I was really into, I need to know what a patient looks like who's getting severe COVID-19 so I could prepare my facility. A lot of us in the hospital business were working with our state governments and our federal government to be prepared. What we were being told was we were going to need massive ventilators. That's what was talked about. Then we realized that there was a PPE, personal protective equipment shortage. I was lucky at Cottage Hospital after the 2010 pandemic with H1N1, I had stockpiled. I had trailers full of masks, goggles, stretchers. So I didn't feel the panic as far as equipment. And then I started looking at things a little bit more. Then my mind was curious more about the virus very easily looking online, learning about Dr. Shi Zhengli, if I pronounce it correctly.
Bat lady. The bat lady.
Yes, the bat lady, one of the top virologists at the Wuhan Lab of Virology. And her publications went back to 2007. 2013, she identified the S protein in about 3 different, I don't know if it's 3 different bat species or
bat coronavirus.
The bat coronavirus.
Yes.
And then 2015, in 4 publications, she published that she is now replicating the virus, meaning man-made manipulation, and she was testing on mice. In her next...
Was it described as humanized mice?
Humanized mice.
They use humanized mice to do these kind of things because they try common lab mouse and the result is not that good. And so later they realize a humanized mouse is a very good model. So that humanized model from Barrick.
Fascinating.
Mayor.
So I pick up a few things here and there.
Even know what type of mice.
But so around January or so, I remember this. You had already come to pretty much a conclusion that the story they were putting out sounded like nonsense. That they
ate a bat.
That somebody ate a bat.
Bats.
That somebody ate a bat from the Wuhan meat market.
Yeah.
And your logical thought was it's more likely this comes out of that.
Yeah, because I had it in writing that the director, I don't know if her title was director, but one of the lead virologists was doing this already with bat coronavirus in her lab. And it was well publicized in Nature magazine, which is a scientific magazine. So it wasn't like in the National Enquirer.
Right.
Her and other scientists were really proud.
This was a respected magazine. And she was getting a great deal of credit for this.
Absolutely.
Until obviously it turned bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now, Dr. Yen, at this time, you're in Hong Kong, right?
Yes.
And just tell me a little about your background leading up to this role that you had. What's your specialty, and how long you've been doing it, and how long have you been at your present position?
Oh, okay. Actually, I got my medical doctor and then the PhD doctor degree from the 2 top medical universities in China. And then I moved to the University of Hong Kong for further investigation. And then I turned to the virology field because I get a chance to work with the WHO team members and in their WHO H5 reference lab, which is also the top coronavirus lab in the world.
Yeah, the one you worked in was the top one.
And I directly work with a bunch of the top coronavirus experts in the world. So I worked with them for over 5 years. I work on the vaccine development and also the virus like influenza. And we also conducted the emerging disease, that kind of investigation, including later the COVID-19 things. So when this outbreak actually in the beginning.
So when did you first become aware of something different was happening? Some outbreak or some terrible thing was going to happen?
Yeah, so that is end of December 2019. And because going through my network in China, the doctors are talking about some new pneumonia happened. And also almost the same time, the whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang in Wuhan get arrested. And the government said people should not spread rumors. And then
so he came out and was actually telling the truth.
When did he first come out and tell, and what did he say?
He talked about it through the WeChat group and informing his colleagues and tell them there are really some unknown pneumonia happened. It's like SARS. And then show some diagnosed picture from the gene company in China, diagnosed that patient. So he told people, be careful when you work with such patient, there are something new. And then this picture later gets spread around among doctors, and the government noticed it.
So what's the time period when he first alerted people and before he got arrested?
I think just within 2-3 days or maximum 1 week, we see those
It
pictures.
went viral. I
Yeah.
mean, it went around the world
But I
for
mean-
the medical people.
Yeah. But I'm just sort of getting a feeling for.
Yeah.
He says this pneumonia is more complicated and very dangerous,
Yep.
New.
and it's
Yeah.
very different. It's very new. You got to be
Yeah.
very careful.
Yep.
And don't talk loud.
And
Government doesn't want you to
but
talk
then
loud.
all of a sudden the government says cracks down on them. Boom.
Yes.
What? 2-3 days? 4 days?
Yeah, like
Okay.
I think around 29th December.
So about the
like
20th
that
of
time.
December and about
Yeah.
the 29th, the government cracks down on them.
Yeah, and then next day, the government immediately puts an announcement because they know this guy is telling something they don't want people to know.
And the announcement they put out is nobody should talk about this.
Yes, I put an announcement that, yeah, we do detected some pneumonia, but don't worry, nothing happened. No human-to-human transmission. That is right.
I remember
Yes,
that, right? No
yeah.
human-to-human
Yep,
transmission.
Exactly.
Right.
Only
And-
if you ate the bat.
And that was the theory? You had to eat the bat? The original theory was it spread by eating the bat.
No, the original theory is actually at that time, China government tried to push people believe this is some animal sold in the seafood market, which they don't know what animal it is, but they try to let people believe some people went to the seafood market, touch the animal they are selling, which is sick, so they get sick.
Interesting,
all
because the
the
story in America, the first ones
Yeah.
were that people ate
That's
the
later.
bat.
Because they
so you
cannot
had-
find the
yeah,
animal.
Yeah.
So they have to mention that, oh, they eat bat. But we Chinese people, we don't eat bat.
Now, but also I understand, just so we get that on the table, the Wuhan wet market didn't sell bats.
No.
And the bats that are capable of doing this were 1,000 miles away
Yes.
and probably at that time of the year in hibernation.
Yes, exactly. They cannot fly so far away.
Yeah.
So it didn't turn out to be a good alibi, let's put it that way.
Yeah, but
it had
they
a lot of holes in it.
force you to believe.
In at least 40 people initially who came down with this mysterious lung illness had nothing to do with the wet market. So their story was falling apart.
We will take a short break. I accomplished a lot in 2020 exposing the truth, establishing the relationship with you, working tirelessly for America. And I came to know the work and value of the people at American Hartford Gold. You see, you buy gold not only for what you know, but you buy gold for what you don't know. American Hartford Gold is the company you can trust when it comes to buying gold. They sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or inside of your IRA. In the precious metals industry, they are the highest rated firm in our country with an A+ from the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. Give them a call and tell them Rudy sent you. And be sure to ask them what I bought. And if you call them right now, they will give you up to $1,500 of free silver on your first order. Folks, these are uncertain times. The one thing you can count on to protect what you have worked so hard for is physical gold and silver. So don't wait. Call them now. Call 833-GOLD-777. That's 833-GOLD-777. Or text Rudy to 65532. Again, that's 833-GOLD-777. Or text Rudy to 65532. Thank you for returning. Now, you were asked to look at it. How did that happen?
So yeah, I was brought by my supervisor, Dr. Liu Peng, who is another WHO expert, into his office on 31st December 2019. He said, I want you to do some investigation in secret using your network, because now we know that there is a new pneumonia. It's like SARS happened in China,
Like
in
SARS.
Wuhan, but we don't know what exactly happened. And I said, you are a WHO expert. Why cannot you ask? And then he said, no, China government doesn't allow us to know everything, and you should be careful. Don't cross the red line. I mean, this is not the law. In China, we know red line is invisible. You think government doesn't like something, you don't touch. That's the red line.
Oh, interesting.
So,
It's called the
yeah.
red line.
Yeah, but it's not clear as U.S. is a law. We don't. It's just in their mind.
So you were told to find out what this was about, but don't go too far in trying to find out what it's about.
Yeah,
Or be
don't
very
let
careful.
China notice it. If not, you are in trouble.
Because China doesn't want people to know what it's about. And China was not sharing information with the WHO.
No, they don't share. They even don't share it to Hong Kong government.
Yeah, they were keeping
And was the
it tight.
WHO asking for information, or did they realize you can't ask China for information?
Because my lab is a WHO reference lab, so one of the important tasks is to do the emerging disease surveillance. Also, my lab is a China's national emerging disease lab. So they have their responsibility. Once they see these kind of things happen, they should report, they should announce, and especially WHO have their protocol. You have to announce it, let them know like within 24 hours or maybe a little bit longer, but should not be so long. So later things happen is when I report to Dr. Liu Peng and also the other supervisor, Malik Paris, also knows this, but both of them, they keep silence. I mean, they are part of WHO, and their colleague knows that. I know they were discussing
When you
this.
say they keep silent, what does that mean? They
Whole
keep-
WHO keeps silence because these WHO experts know what I know.
So tell us now, how quickly did it take you to analyze it and come to a reasonably secure position about what was going on?
Oh, actually, I directly can contact the doctors in Wuhan, doctors in China CDC, and other important authorities and labs. All my information actually immediately feed back to Dr. Liu Peng and later goes to Malik Paris, I know within 1 day. So from 31st December to the 3rd January, I keep working on that. All the message I get, actually including human-to-human transmission, already exist in Wuhan in December. Over 40 patients are diagnosed. I mean, some more are not diagnosed. And these diagnosed people, only 2/3 are announced by China government because the other 1/3 don't have the history in seafood market.
Yeah.
So China.
So they're trying to make it fit a narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
China doesn't allow these people without history in seafood market to be known by the public. And China, actually in Wuhan, they have already worked on the sequence of virus. They know what it is, but they don't allow people to talk
When
about
you
it.
say they know what it is, how did you know that? And did you know what it was?
I have my first-hand information from the people in CDC who handle these
From
things.
CDC?
Yeah,
The China
China
CDC,
CDC.
like our CDC.
And when did you get that information from them? Right away?
From 31st December right away and keep communicating and until 3rd January later on because my supervisor Liu Peng directly hand over all this contact.
And what did they basically, if you could simplify it for a lay audience, what did the people from the CDC tell you on December 31st, January 1st, January 2nd? That's the period of time we're talking about?
Exactly.
And most of this is what, over the telephone or with Skype or with Zoom?
WeChat and phone.
Pardon me?
WeChat. WeChat is in China
WeChat's like WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did they, tell us what they told you.
Oh, we talk a lot, but most information is first, all the things are confidential. They can tell me because they know I'm on behalf of WHO reference lab. And the second thing is there are more patients than China government admit, and more patients they even haven't diagnosed. I mean, they refuse to give so many diagnosed. And China has postponed all this information also back to December 2019. They know the virus genome. They know human-to-human transmission exists. They know people
So they had known about it earlier in December,
in December at least. Yeah.
at least.
Yeah, at least in December.
They knew
know it.
really good information early on, but they weren't letting the world
Yeah.
know it.
They didn't specify how early on. They just said in December.
Yeah, in December.
We will now take a short break. Your credit card company found suspicious charges on your card. That's simple identity theft. It's annoying, but they cover it. The type of fraud you really need to worry about is home title theft, a devastating crime that takes you off your home's title. And you're not covered by insurance or most identity theft programs. That's why you need Home Title Lock. Here's how easy it is for cyber criminals to get you. The title documents to our homes are kept online. The thief forges your signature on a quitclaim deed stating you just sold your home, and he's the new owner. Then he borrows money using your home's equity and leaves you in debt. You won't know until late payment or eviction notices arrive. The instant Home Title Lock detects someone tampering with your home's title, they help shut it down. Let's get you protected. Go to HometitleLock.com and register your address to see if you're already a victim. And enter Rudy for 30 free days of protection. That's promo code Rudy at HometitleLock.com. Thank you very much for returning.
So China government still doesn't allow people to talk about it. They punish the doctor who talk about it, like the whistleblower Li Wenliang, and then they ask Wuhan government to send their samples to Beijing for double confirm and again delay the result because head of China CDC George Fugao need to do it all by himself and then announce it.
So instead of some samples going to your reference lab or another reference lab, they're tightening down and only samples can go to Beijing.
And you were told that by your colleagues who worked for the CDC in China, who were working at the Wuhan lab?
Not in Wuhan, in Beijing.
I see, but they were getting the information from Wuhan.
Yes.
And they were looking at samples.
And did they know the derivation of it? Did they know where it came from?
They know that's definitely, no, they never mentioned this is a lab leak. I can say from all the information I have, no doctor, no authority people talking about this is a lab leak. So if this is an accident happened in the lab in Wuhan, there should be such people talking about it because it's very easy to locate it. But they don't know, and then they said this is something just very confidential, and even the Wuhan Virology Institute, although they work on these things, but China government doesn't want them to get involved too much.
But did they tell you that there were far more cases than they were acknowledging?
Yes, there are more cases than they know because also from other information I get later that the doctors in Wuhan, they are scared because patients stay there in their ward, which is not a respiratory disease ward. That means that is full. And other ward, even
their wards were full?
Ward
in Wuhan.
And they even go to some other ward in other department.
Right.
No isolation.
In the rest of the world, they were telling no human-to-human contact. No. So the WHO was telling the world that, they're a respected agency. Dr. Fauci was telling us that in America, we have nothing to worry about. This is isolated in Wuhan, no human-to-human contact, but yet they had more knowledge, choosing not to tell.
When they told you no human-to-human contact, did you know that was not true?
Yeah, you know what, sir? Actually, from the beginning, when I said no human-to-human transmission now, are you sure? Because we see people go to seafood market also get infected, right? Based on the information. My friend laughed. They said, except for the guy who announced no human-to-human transmission, all the other experts around them actually laugh. People all know this is something laughable. Definitely human-to-human transmission exists.
When did you know that particular lab was doing what's called gain-of-function testing and research?
Oh, actually, if you mean the Wuhan lab, you just search online and because we know the
That's
coronavirus.
How I knew too.
Wuhan lab is one of the famous lab who conduct this kind of...
So you knew that in advance?
Yeah, it's a common sense in our field. And that is not the only lab. We also know that military-civil fusion is common in this field. And not only one lab can do it, not only one team can do it. So that's why Wuhan lab, although this virus finally come out from there, but in China, there are more labs actually working on this, and behind is China military.
Are they all P4 level labs?
Oh, this doesn't need to be P4. P3 can work on
they
this.
Can. Okay.
Exactly, yes.
Yep. So P4 lab is a very high level. You have high safety standards because you don't want leaks to happen.
Yes.
But yet they weren't following those standards anyway.
No, actually, to be specific, is P3 lab is high standard enough. P4 is much higher, but for this coronavirus,
You could have
P3
done it in a
is
P3,
enough.
which your lab was a P3.
Yeah, and
lab.
also there are more P3 labs than in China. So that's why I said people only focus on Wuhan because there is a P4. That's because they don't know this virus is suitable for P3.
As much as you can in layman's terms, because I don't think we have a lot of
Oh,
virologists who are going to be
Yeah,
listening.
sorry.
So no. I was
you're
going to
doing
ask
very
a
well.
question. You're doing great, but so initially the genome sequence was published, quickly removed, so the world didn't know. How did you figure out that sequence, and why is it so important to know that sequence?
Oh, that is even after mid-January, because China finally published the sequence of the virus on 12th January from NIH that database. So I got to know it, I checked it on 16th, and at that time it is version 2. Usually we don't put different version because it's just like take picture. No way to be problem. And then, so later I know that I checked that I see they removed the previous version. And then I discussed it with my husband, who is also another WHO coronavirus expert. And he told me that he examined the first version too before they removed it. And there were errors which cannot explain. And if you just check that one, you cannot find out where this virus family is.
So is that the importance of knowing the sequence, and so you really can zero in on where it came from, and if you know the sequence, you can kind of tell what was manipulated.
Yeah, so that's why it means the first version, it stays there for 2 days. It cannot let the scientists understand where the virus from. But later, you know why they changed that? One reason is 13 January, there is the first overseas cases happened in Thailand. That means Thailand can get the virus genome. So then China government, maybe they feel scared. That's why they update it to the kind of true sequence. And then when I examine it, I clearly see that from the database, all thousands virus we know, the most close one actually is this one I said, the one from China military.
When did you realize that?
16th January.
16th. When you first heard about it, when you immediately heard about it, and you when you first heard about it in December 31st, January, did you think immediately that it probably came from the laboratory? Because the laboratory had kind of a bad reputation for being careful.
Or careless.
Careless,
Right,
better put.
Yeah.
It had a bad reputation for being careless.
Actually, the careless part is something common in the lab, but we all know that for P3 lab, we call it BSL level 3 lab, there are very strict protocol, and there were cases happened before in Taipei, in Singapore, in Beijing, like the SARS-1 virus release, but that can be held immediately, and they know how to handle these things. But this cases, once I realized it is from the PLA's virus, and based on the intelligence.
I think it's important for the audience to know what PLA is.
Oh yeah, People's Liberation Army, our
So
Chinese
the
army.
military
In
is
China.
now involved with doing this.
Yeah.
When did the military come in?
The military, actually, they spend more than 10 years, 20 years working on
So the military was involved way before this.
With gain of function, yeah.
to promote this, develop it.
For a bioweapon.
They are
Well, that's a big jump. So the People's Liberation Army was involved with the Wuhan lab, right?
they work all together.
And why? Why were they involved?
Oh, because Wuhan lab is like our lab in Hong Kong. They are kind of international and open because they have the civil code and they have the expert there. So this is a hub for knowledge exchange, and also money from US, like NIH money, they usually won't give it to military. But if this is from Wuhan lab, from our lab in Hong Kong, they can easily get money from US.
So, and how long was the People's Liberation Army, the military, how long was it involved in the Wuhan lab?
I think they have been working from the beginning because
So they're an integral part of it.
yes, they kind of no difference among military and the civil scientists sometimes because they can work for military at the same time work for civil lab. And for US people, if they see their title, sometimes just show the civil title. Yeah, you don't know.
So is the assumption from that the lab was used in part for military purposes?
Yes, because there is only one P4 lab. If military want to do something very dangerous, and definitely they can use that one.
And which was the only P4 lab?
That is the only P4 lab
Wuhan.
in mainland. Yeah,
In
but they
Wuhan.
also have several P3 lab which can fulfill their
Do a lot of the
activities. Yes.
Now,
Is the military involved with those other labs too?
Yes, military labs can't go anywhere. My lab in the University of Hong
Military is
Kong,
involved there.
even US, I mean, we have already identified many. In New York Blood Center, the top lab for this study too.
Yeah.
Also, there are a lot of military scientists
Interesting. I
working
didn't know
there
that.
American
for many
military.
years.
American military.
Chinese military.
No. Chinese military is working here.
Yeah, in New York Blood Center, we
and
identified
in Boston.
New York. And there's some other people working with other university like Texas. And I haven't identified so many, but many collaborations among the top universities in US. That's how China gets your knowledge.
yeah, they've been doing that for a while.
So because this was a P4 lab, the military was more involved than in some other labs. But they were involved in all the labs. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I think what she's saying is some of the scientists have like this dual role. They're military, but if they were to be interviewed on television, they don't necessarily say their military status. They just say they're a scientist.
Yeah.
But I guess what confused me was
please.
in February, because they were already trying to close down all information from the lab. And in February, they actually took over.
Yes,
Like-
bioweapon expert general.
Yeah, so a
Wei Chen.
bioweapon expert comes in and takes over the lab in February. I thought that was striking.
Yes, that was. But you know, in China, most of times they don't mind people say what because they know misinformation can change your brain later. So actually, from the beginning, January 2020, Wuhan Virology Institute already got the demand to destroy their COVID virus samples and also clean seafood market by the government. But still in February, bioweapon general Wei Chen, who's also the bioweapon expert during SARS time and developed vaccines. So she was sent to Wuhan and taking charge of all that lab. And then we don't know what happened, but what we know recently, this week, she was got a top award in China.
Did you know how far the Bat Lady had gone in manipulating these viruses, in creating man-made viruses?
Well, we could see her work through Nature magazine.
So you knew that from Nature magazine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you knew that from both Nature magazine and also your colleagues telling you that?
Yes, because her work is kind of open, published online.
Yeah.
And she actually is the one after SARS-1 and become famous because she has collected a lot of samples, which means the even novel virus from bat or other animals related to this, and also later work with like Ralph Barrick in North Carolina University to do some gain of function test. She's also the one identified the called ancestor of SARS-1 virus from the bat.
Huh.
She's now the the member in the U.S. Academy of Microbiology, but she's not the only one who get into this.
No.
She worked with people
Yep,
to do
she had
gain
a whole
function.
team.
So when you first began talking and analyzing and trying to determine how it happened, was it pretty obvious from the beginning, given the gain of function experiments they did there, given who she was, that this was probably developed in the laboratory? Was that almost obvious?
scenario.
Almost obvious.
Yes, but not based only on her experiment.
So tell me when you first concluded that this was not something developed in nature, but it was something developed in the laboratory.
Okay, so briefly, what I can tell is that combine my expertise, my knowledge, and also intelligence in this. So we say that this virus actually most close to the PLA, the virus, army virus, which is published in 2017 to 2018.
So can I have clarification with that? You call this the PLA virus, the army virus. So it was developed by the army.
Found by the army. They go to search the new virus from the animals because this is involved into the big projects organized by the China government for many years. China government want to find a lot of new virus from the animal. I mean, they said they want to study it and prevent, but actually this virus never jump to humans if they don't disturb the animals. And then finally, in 2017 to 2018, they published this virus. And in this virus, they show this virus is a good backbone. I mean, now we know should fit the China government's demand. But at the time, they published it, and then no further news.
So a good backbone to transmit viruses to humans?
The good backbone means you always need to have a nature virus, and then you change the function. That is very ideal, because if we just image something and then make it in the lab, virus is another creature.
Yeah.
They have their own character. You cannot guarantee it's perfectly. It can go to human body, animal body, or you cannot guarantee many features.
How did you know scientifically this was manipulated by man?
Oh, because
And when did you first think that?
16 January.
Not before that?
No, because before that we don't have the genome, and I was not allowed to do the investigation.
But up until that time, they were talking about it's being from the wet.
We know it is not from the wet market, definitely.
Why do we know that? Because that's what China was saying, right?
No, I mean, at that time, although we still need more evidence, but we see China government's behavior is very weird. We Chinese people have our common sense. Our government try to hide things. They try to restrict the infection from the seafood market. And they have their sample from that market before they clean it. And the sample all from environment. I teach the pandemics course in my university. So if you think it's from animal, then you should check something related to animal in the market. Why is only environment sample? That means clean the table, clean the wall.
Samples. Yeah.
So am I correct? The first hypothesis was, first thing China put out that I remember reading, but you know this better than I do. First thing they put out was, this comes from the Wuhan wet market.
Correct.
That people bought bats.
That's what we were told in America.
And that they ate the bats.
Yes.
Animals are bad. Animals are bad.
Yeah, but we were told specifically bats.
Pretty much bats.
Yeah, we were told specifically bats.
They ate the bats.
No human-to-human transfer. The only ones who are going to get it.
And the only ones who are going to get it are the people who ate the bats.
Yep.
That's
what we were told.
That would be like the first week in January, whatever, right?
Yep.
So, did you hear that in China as the theory?
We hear that, but we won't believe that. We won't believe that. Well, that's hilarious.
Why did you not believe that?
First, we don't eat bat. I mean, I can be honest, tell you that our friends, my old friends, say the bat soup picture from the social media. Everyone is terrible. We cannot believe. But in Philippines or in Indonesia, those people told us they eat bat, but they don't get such outbreak, right? So this is clearly China government is hiding something using propaganda. In China, if you well know something, most probably that is propaganda from the government.
So you were pretty sure when you heard that was propaganda from the government?
Oh yeah, bat soup is propaganda, of course.
Bat soup?
Yeah,
Yes.
eating bat is propaganda.
Yes, they were showing
Now, what
pictures
about
online.
so the way it was related to us here in America was when it became questionable that they don't eat bats in Wuhan, but they do in 1,000 miles away in Yunnan.
No.
Not
they
true?
also
That's
don't
not
eat
true
bat.
either.
Yeah, I've been to Yunnan. No.
They don't eat bats
Yeah,
there
no,
either.
no. Maybe very occasionally one person like to eat bat, but definitely
It's not a big
it's
thing.
new to us too. Very new to us.
Okay. And that part of China, Wuhan, doesn't have bats.
They may have some wild bat,
But not the bats that
no eat.
Yeah.
So not having that theory, what were you working on? What was your hypothesis? What were you thinking?
Actually, from the 3rd to 16th January, I was bring out from the investigation because my supervisor told me clearly, hey, directly contact my friend in China CDC, and because this is confidential information, he need to protect my friend, which I thought is reasonable, and I thought they were doing some action among the international scientific group.
So was he taking you out of the investigation?
Yes, from 3rd.
What made you fear for your life and escape to America?
Oh, that is later because 16th January, again, my supervisor turned to me said, you need to help me do another investigation. And then he showed me a picture, which is raccoon dog. It's an animal in a cage. From his email, someone sent him, said, it's like to imply him to search this animal can be suspicious host. So he just told me that, go to ask your friend whether they eat this in Wuhan.
Do you think that was really something to investigate, or was this another line of propaganda to get the scientists going down a different road?
You are clear that.
Okay.
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah, she says that's exactly right.
So your supervisor takes you out for a couple of weeks. Then he comes back and he gives you the proposition that
Of a raccoon dog.
This was maybe transmitted by a raccoon or a dog.
Raccoon dog is an animal. Raccoon dog looks like the civet cat.
Ah.
And the CV cat is where we got
SARS-1. Yes.
And your lab discovered that, right?
Yeah. So civet cat is another funny story, which they were told civet cat can be, and then they go to Guangzhou, and immediately Guangzhou government found a sample, gave them like 10 to 15 sample, half of them are positive. So they said it's from civet cat.
So now what do you do with that? What do you conclude about
I turned to do my research from my network in Wuhan, also China citizens and other people. What I see make me shocked because I thought WHO has done something, at least China government, even they don't want us to know, maybe they had conducted something, right? But no, in China, in Wuhan, they let the patients all around, and then they don't do any protection to isolate patients, and also doctors. Doctors were nervous.
that? This is in Wuhan.
Wuhan.
As late as January 16th.
January 16th.
They're not doing anything to isolate the patients?
No, and they don't allow doctors to talk about it. Doctors are nervous. And the doctor told me that they are scared. They dare not to talk to me about this. And I promise I won't
Say their name.
Yeah, of course. So they said, terrible. And they told the government, and they have done the examination, exclude all the other possibility of the patient. And then government said, okay, we will handle it. Then no feedback. So that means everyone's worrying about this virus.
Yeah, and information's not being shared.
No, not allowed.
Yeah.
Because from December, they know they should shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I know that they don't eat raccoon dog. My friends in Wuhan even didn't know raccoon dog. And Wuhan, if Chinese people eat wild animals,
So they threw the bat theory out there.
They got the bat theory. They got other animals.
Dogs,
they have the raccoon dog. Any more?
Later,
animals?
Later, some China university said this from snake.
I think I do remember that. Snake,
Some said it's from some other bamboo rat, which is another animal. And also some people talk about this from the outer space. Yeah, they have talked about that.
Really?
Yeah, and the most popular propaganda is U.S. government through the bioweapon to China.
Yep, I did
That's
hear
even
that.
from the
Did you hear
beginning.
that, Rudy?
Yeah, I did.
I did hear that too.
Time for a break. I've been sleeping on My Pillows for some time. I love them. They're simply the very best pillows ever made. But I just found out that they also have a wide assortment of other incredible products like their mattress toppers, sheets, towels, and slippers, and more. Listeners have helped build My Pillow into the incredible company it is today, and Mike Lindell wants to give back to all of you. Pick some pillows or pick several of the other great products, and you can get super discounts on My Pillow products by going to mypillow.com, promo code Rudy, or call 1-800-725-7759, promo code Rudy right now, and see each of the specially priced items, including those in the radio listener special square. You're going to see rotational offers up to 66% off on products like the pillows, mattress topper, and geyser sheets, but also new products like their slippers, weighted blankets, robes, and waffle blankets. All My Pillow products come with a 60-day money-back guarantee. Enter promo code Rudy for these new great specials. That's mypillow.com, promo code Rudy. And now we will get back to our very interesting discussion. Now, when did you then become convinced or begin to think and then become convinced that it was developed in the laboratory?
Yeah, so that is also always suspicious before, but I need the scientific evidence.
So from the beginning, you were suspicious that maybe it came from there.
It can be because I work on virus. Gain function virus definitely stay in China because I know they changed the baby's gene, right? For the HIV editing baby, they changed monkey's head. And in China, everything you can do if government like it.
Right.
So the only thing I need is a scientific evidence, which is on 16 January after this research, and I was warned by my supervisor clearly that be careful, keep silent, and don't cross the red line. If not, you will be disappeared. I know it is very serious, and I respond to him about this information. His attitude is, oh, we know China is doing that. Oh, they are still doing that, like this.
So the information you gave him was about the dog and about the
animals.
And he basically knew it was.
No, we can do nothing, and we should all keep silence, like this.
So that gave him the signal that they were not doing it legitimately.
Yeah, they didn't, and they won't because they are scared of China government.
Of course.
But they share information.
So tell me how. So now tell me, how did you get to the idea that it was the laboratory?
Yeah. So then later after my work, I start to do more research, and then when I check the genome, and then I was passed by my husband at that time when I talked to him. He also showed me the publication talking about this army virus. And he knows more than me about that because he is the top expert working with Malik Paris. So that means Malik and my husband, they know more about this virus than me. And then when I read the publication, when I check the virus sequence, I compare that. I see clearly something wrong because among the different part of the virus, you see some part is clearly changed and which has like over 30% difference compared to this, which we call the S protein. And some part, that is clearly 100% identical between the backbone virus and the new coronavirus. So that doesn't match nature evolution principle.
So now explain that again.
Yeah.
Dr. Maria, could you help us
so
understand?
If I understand you correctly.
So she was told that they had developed this backbone virus that would make it easier to do this.
Right.
But then what does she find out?
Well, when you got the genome sequence, you could clearly see through this. How do you describe that in layman's terms?
Just
almost like DNA.
Compared RNA. This is RNA.
The RNA. Ribonucleotide, nucleic acid. Yeah. So by comparing the RNA, you could tell that there was no evolution of nature.
Yeah, it's basically you can see, for example, you can image the military virus. It's like father. And so the sum is the
You had
COVID
to care.
virus.
You had to look at the military virus.
Yeah, compared to this one.
To that, you could clearly see
Yeah,
that
it's
it
like
was.
father and son.
Yeah.
And there was something you definitely say it can be after the plastic surgery. Yeah, it's not a novel one. It's not a nature one, but it's a novel one. And also, when you see all these things happen, you see China government's behavior, you see all the things based on my expertise, I almost understand what they have done, which is not verified. That they use
So when you say military virus, what do you mean by military virus?
military is,
Is that a bioweapon?
military get involved. Usually, it's about weapon.
So
Yeah.
so this here is Zhoushan
Zhoushan,
virus.
yeah, Zhoushan
That's
is
the
a
military
place.
virus.
They found it in Zhoushan, not Yunnan. Zhoushan is East China.
Yeah,
Yunnan
So this is the
west.
military virus.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a particular region in China.
So
Yeah.
when you compared that,
Yeah.
the genome sequence of that to this new, we called it first a novel virus, now
it was.
COVID-19.
Yeah.
They were the same?
There are 12% difference. The whole genome, you can think it like the 30,000 letters. It's a nucleotide. And among that, there are 3,000 difference. But this 3,000...
3,000 of 30,000 difference.
Yes.
Yes.
But
So you could tell it was related.
yeah, because
Yeah.
no other one are more close to that.
Right.
Yeah, and also you should know that during the nature evolution, the change, they have the principle, follow the principle. But when I check, like for example, I compare the spike to spike, and then I compare the shell, we call it envelope, to shell, and we compare different internal part. So different parts, they show imbalance change, which doesn't match the nature evolution.
Yeah.
So
So very scientifically, she was able to tell that there was no way this was a natural scientific evolution because it didn't follow those principles that normally happen with a natural evolution of a virus. It was very much related to what she refers to as the army virus.
So you came to the conclusion that it was developed in the laboratory.
Yeah.
Now, how did that lead to your having to leave China?
Oh, because once I realized that, I see how the WHO, so the expert work, I see how China government work, and I know China. So I immediately realized this is something very, very big. I was shocked. And I'm the doctor. I know in such situation, government don't do anything. That is Chinese New Year time. Wuhan is the biggest transportation hub in China.
Yeah.
And China can do nothing.
And
So
they
China
allowed
had-
people to go out.
China had closed down people traveling in China.
No, at that time, no.
Not at that time, because they
didn't.
allowed because of the Chinese
That
New
is
Year.
1 week before lockdown.
Yeah. They allowed them to participate in Chinese New
I see.
Year.
They allowed them to the Chinese New Year, and then after that, they locked down.
No, that's because my revelation. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
my
okay.
revelation, because that is like Christmas in U.S. People will traveling around, go over the world, and the China government definitely doesn't want to do anything because at the same time they even give the confidential document to Chinese doctors. The first thing they mention inside is like, don't talk too much. Just do it according to the guidance. And then these things, I know I have to deliver my message out because as later I told Mr. Luder that there are at least several things will happen and which are verified. First, if we don't hold it in control in time, there will be crazy outbreak and even later can be pandemic in the world.
Yeah.
The virus, because it's coronavirus, the nature means that it will get high mutant if this is an outbreak or pandemic, which is not also verified. And the human-to-human transmission exists. Imagine such big transportation. What will happen? I mean, this crazy.
So you must have been in a panic. Here you realize that this is going to spread like wildfire and it's going to cause a worldwide pandemic. You got the information. You know, China Communist Party has already been telling everybody, be quiet,
Yes.
be quiet, be quiet. But you have a moral obligation to warn
I
people.
have to. I feel if I keep silent, I know if I tell it, China can target me immediately. I may get disappeared before I deliver it out. But I also know that if I don't tell it, I cannot forgive myself.
So who do you tell it to?
So I the next day, 17th January, I decide to contact Mr. Lude because I think about that. I know the situation is dangerous and I don't know anyone who can do this, but I listen to his media. And
who is he?
Mr. Lude is the
Oh,
one.
Mr. Lude.
Yes.
He's the one working for from 2017 to do the broadcast once or twice every day, keep telling the things about the darkness in China and also telling the truth. I mean, I listen to his broadcast times and I feel if he knows that, he would be the one help me. So I managed to contact him through Twitter.
Because immediately now you knew you had to get out of China.
I didn't want to leave China. I cannot. My family's there.
But may I say, your first thing was you want to get the message out so people can protect themselves.
And you got the message out.
Yes.
And that led to the close down, the shutdown.
The thing is, not only because I tell the cover up or transmission between humans, or even the outbreak will happen, because China doesn't care about those things. The thing is, I tell it is from this military virus. China realized someone inside knows this. And I later show that E protein is 100% identical, which exactly shows this virus cannot be from nature evolution.
And when did you leave China?
I leave at the end of April. I arrived US on 29th April. I still keep working in the University of Hong Kong at that time, unless I was warned by Mr. Lude that I'm really in danger.
Did they ever identify you as the person?
Yeah, I think they've identified.
When did they identify you?
I get Mr. Lude's notice on 15 April, one morning.
That's when they didn't identify you as the person until April 15th.
I think they may identify, but that is the time they won't make me disappear. Yeah.
Isn't that funny? Make me disappear. It gives me the chills to know that your government could disappear you.
That's not only about physically disappear. We see it in the Hong Kong movement, protesters. We also see it in China's history. Chinese Communist Party not only make you physically disappear, they can make you have mental problem. And also they can silence you. It's like what I made in US later. So although you are telling the truth, you have the logic and common sense, but
then they try to tear down your reputation.
Exactly. No one believe you, attack you. This is making.
Were they doing that before you left? But they didn't know about you before you left. They didn't know where this information was coming from originally, right?
They may not know it in public, but they definitely can lock me because I use WeChat and WhatsApp.
Did they put pressure on you?
No, I didn't feel because because I keep working on this.
Right.
I keep updating the things. Like I tell Mr. Lude that we deliver a message. Lancet, that statement in February was like the one organized by China.
Yeah, because in the Lancet magazine, which we used to in the medical field, feel that was a very high-level, respectable magazine. But the minute they published that in February, I knew they were bought and paid for by China, which is terrible. You need to have some pure scientific, magazines, journals without bias of politics.
So let's get your conclusions because let's get your conclusions clear. So before you left, you were certain that it was produced in the laboratory.
Yes, more and more evidence later also proved.
But now there's been even more evidence since then. But even before you left, you were certain it was produced in the laboratory.
19th January, I'm sure. That's why I spent 2 days from 17 to 19 to explain all the things to Mr. Lude. He's also a layman. And he used his logic and common sense, understand the things. Because I'm anonymously, I cannot show my face. And then he delivered my message out, which is not only is PLA made, It also includes another message that I told people. There is no animal host, and the seafood market is a smoke screen, and this one is intentionally released.
Yeah. Yep.
And then when, if you did you conclude that this was produced for military purposes?
Because military get involved, and we see the virus is super enhanced, and we see in the coronavirus, we never see such high transmissibility, and also we see people died, and we see so many outcomes come out. All together, I can tell you that this is definitely not a good virus they made. That is not vaccine.
Right. The coronavirus family's been around since the beginning of time. So we have a lot of history with the coronavirus family. And this was so different in that it was highly transmissible, but the way people got sick and died was very, very different.
SARS-1 is also have high mortality, people dead, but SARS-1 is not that high transmissibility.
Yeah.
And this virus, actually later you can see more functions than SARS-1 were recruited.
What does that mean?
Oh, so that means now we can say, based on many, many data, that we know this blood clot, thrombosis, this kind of things happen in a high percentage, and the people even recovered from COVID-19. And we see people has done experiment which clearly show that just this S protein, it can directly damage the vessel. And
yeah, so I don't know if you remember when you had coronavirus and COVID and you had double pneumonia,
yes,
they were also worried about blood clots.
Yes, so this can create a lot of other diseases.
yeah, to make it enhance.
And so you were, before you left, you had pretty much assured yourself that it was this was done for a military purpose. Now, what about the leak? What was your theory of how it got out?
Okay, so actually, I work in the high level of biosafety lab. That is the top lab belong to WHO reference lab. So I know that we have very good protocols. And I know the China CDC's had. I know these people. They also have their established protocols. If you are talking about like one animal in the experiment jump out of the lab, never happened in this level of labs. And even if it happened, like for example, I spill over a little bit when I was working, I will be contained, and then I will get treated or something, surveillance. So this kind of outbreak, this scale of the big outbreak cannot, because of some lab leak. And also you see China government, just using common sense, we will understand. China government, why do they use the national power and international power to make up lies?
Yeah, massive cover up. So you don't even believe it was leaked. Some people believe it was leaked and then there was a cover up. You don't even believe it was leaked. You believe it was put out into the community for what purpose? To see how it would function?
Because all the lab leak evidence I also examined, they also have their problems, which you cannot use that to prove it's lab accident. And most of this evidence provided by the people who don't really have such experience in such labs.
So what? You asked the question, Doctor. It is a little. Why did they? If they put it out? What was the purpose of putting it out?
Oh, actually, based on the PLA, the Army's one textbook, which is written by the general bioweapon expert.
So there's actually a textbook out there.
In 2015, now it's already, I sent the copy to many departments.
What does it say?
So that is talking about how to use coronavirus can be the next generation of the non-traditional bioweapon.
But that doesn't really answer the question. Like, I do believe that it was purposely done, probably for a bioweapon. But why is this how they would do it, by doing it to their own people first?
Yeah, the thing is actually also in the bioweapon textbook. They mentioned that when you need to develop this virus, and sometimes you want it say the optimal result. During development, you have to see how it stay in the environment, how it target the population. So, for this purpose, in the lab, you can never have the optimal situation to test the virus. So this that can release it to the environment. So now
they released it to the environment in China.
To do the experiment.
Okay. This is your theory, to do the experiment.
And
Why
then it
did
goes
they
crazy.
why did they then close down travel in China, but allow Chinese people to travel all over the world?
That is because they ignore the high transmissibility and then later become the outbreak. So when they realize that people know that and then they realize they really cannot control it, they have to think about their own safety because Beijing is not that far away from Wuhan. And when this kind of high-level officers, CCP officers.
Why would they transmit it to the rest of the world?
Oh, because this is a bioweapon, and this bioweapon, according to their concept, they said we should prepare it can be used at any time, even the peaceful time. So that means it's a time they can use it, takes the advantage.
Do you think they realized how lethal it was, that it would have, millions of people died? Do you think they
Over
realized
3
that?
They know people will die.
But I know they knew people would die, but did they realize that it would be that big?
I don't think they care about how many people died.
Yeah.
Because people are always the least thing they think about. The thing is, they also talk about this not only to make people dead, but the thing is, so this bioweapon can be just maintain less than 2% mortality. But the thing is, it can ruin the medical facilities, can ruin economic, ruin social order and your
which it
civilization.
Do you think that part of, at the time that it happened to the United States,
Yeah.
we were going through a period of great economic success and growth. Also, people were beginning to question, for the first time, whether China could really catch the United States. Because the United States was doing so well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Could that be part of the...
I think
Part
that
of
could
the-
be part of this motive. Although we always need to ask them, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
as a killer.
But basically,
yeah.
your how... This is a strange question. We only have about a minute more.
Please.
But how convinced are you that it was put out for a deliberate purpose to do harm to other countries, including the United States?
No, at that time, 19th January, I cannot say it will harm the world. I want to call for the
She knew that.
international
You knew that
pressure.
immediately.
Yeah, I want to call for international pressure to give China government to hold this outbreak as soon as possible. But I didn't know it would just take the advantage and lock, because we have things wrong, and so we just clean our city, but then deliver it to all over the world. That is beyond my expectation.
So this is quite a charge you're making against China. Do you realize how dangerous that is?
When I see what
Do
happened,
you realize how much danger you're in?
I realize because I work in China as a doctor's intern study there.
Yeah.
I know this system. So in China, in those hospitals, if doctors are so nervous and if government puts so much pressure to hold the things, and so all the lies come out, even punish the doctors, that means something very big happened.
Wow.
Well, we
Well,
are
we've got to-
impressed that you brought this out to the world. You put your safety on the back burner to let everybody know that this is really dangerous. Unfortunately, through some censorship in the United States, voices got squashed. But you are a
But
real hero.
I think the good thing, if anything good, I think that's beginning to change.
Yep.
I think with the discovery of the people that were sick back in November,
Yeah. In the lab.
lab, the discovery that people were bitten, they have footage of people bitten in the lab.
That could be propaganda too, though, right?
You mean the...
They're saying that they were bit in the lab by the bats.
No, I think that is something else, but it's not just related to this one. Because
Well, at least it gives people, and then
concern
the
to have-
excellent article by Mr. Wade, Nicholas Wade, where he takes it on almost like a lawyer, and he looks at all the possibilities. He doesn't come to the absolute conclusion that it was developed in the lab for deliberate purposes, but he leads you to come to that conclusion pretty strongly. And we know that that's the conclusion
I think
he came to.
scientifically we know it was manipulated. What we don't really know was, did they mean to infect the whole world?
Well,
like
we're going to
guess.
continue
I
to
don't know.
discuss this and go into even more detail in later episodes. But I think this was a
thank
good.
you very
I
much.
think
You are
this was
so
an
brave.
Excellent
you.
presentation. My admiration for you and Dr. Ryan's admiration for you.
Yes.
is so.
We were the
high.
first ones
And
to
Dr.
interview
Ryan has the
her
honor
in
of
the
having
United
the first
States.
interview
Yeah.
with you,
Yeah.
and we're still very proud of that.
With you.
And we're very
Yes.
proud of you, and anything we can do to help you and keep you safe.
Thank you, sir. I'm
It's
so
our
happy.
obligation, because this was a terrible thing that was done to the world.
I'm so happy I can get your help, and actually you both are the first one telling the U.S.
Well, you will
people
have our
this
help
is
forever,
bioweapon.
because this can never happen again. And the only way we can make sure it doesn't happen again is to get to the bottom of it. And you've been the biggest force for that.
Exactly. We
And
have
thank
to
you.
push it
Thank
to
you,
truth,
Doctor.
sir.
Thank you.
So I hope you paid attention to this interview. This is a startling interview, and Dr. Yen was right there at the time. There's no reason that she wouldn't have the best observations about this and the most sense about it. And of course, to come to these conclusions puts her life at risk. So it's not something you do lightly. And everything she said, although when she originally came here, she was ridiculed horribly, as, by the way, was Dr. Ryan and some of the others, Laura Ingram,
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson,
Bannon,
Steve Bannon.
Steve Bannon,
Dr. Navarro.
Yeah, Dr. Navarro.
Dr.
Peter
Navarro, all of them, and to some extent me, we were dismissed as conspiracy theorists, nuts, crazy. In any event, it now turns out that we were correct. This was done in the laboratory. There's no doubt after you read this, and then there's certainly no doubt after you listen to Dr. Yen. And there is still a question of exactly why and how, but there is no question that China knew about it, let people go around the world, and that led to the death of many, many other people. I consider the people that China sent around the world to be agents of death. It was like sending out poison gas, because China knew from the very beginning how this could be transmitted.
Yeah, but the people don't know that. They are victims.
The people didn't know it, and probably wouldn't have done it if they knew it, but China knew it. The Chinese Communist Party knew it. Let's be clear, we're not talking at all about China. Sometimes we've said China, that's only for ease of conversation. We're talking about the Chinese Communist Party. Chinese people wouldn't do this. The evil Chinese Communist Party will do it. And remember, the biggest victims of the Chinese Communist Party are the Chinese people. So thank you very much for listening. We will be back with other episodes, because we're going to really get to the bottom of this. This affects our future, oh my goodness, in very, very important ways. And we unfortunately have a president who seems to be blind to all this, or maybe has been compromised so much he has to be blind to it. So we're going to have to dig into this very deeply. Well, again, thank you very much, Dr. Yen.
Thank you.
We appreciate your bravery and we appreciate your brain and your brilliance. And Dr. Ryan, I appreciate your bravery in doing this. You took a lot of abuse for doing it, and it's amazing, because I know from talking to you back in December and January that you predicted all this. So you must feel a certain sense of satisfaction.
Well, in some ways, yes, and in some ways, I wish
Yes, of course.
that we
That
could
never
have
happened.
warned people
Exactly.
more.
Of course we do. Of course we do. But we couldn't do that.
We tried.
We tried, and we couldn't do that. But now we can get to the bottom of it. It doesn't happen again. So thank you very much. You both hear us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank
Doctor.
you.